With scoliosis, sitting shouldn't leave you in pain, but the way you sit could be making your back ache, your hips tight, or even trigger sciatica. So let's fix that. In this video, I will show you the most common sitting mistakes and some simple adjustments that will make a huge difference with scoliosis. So the biggest mistakes are, and I'm going to turn myself over to the side so you can see from the side here. So first of all, this is probably one of the worst chairs that you can ever have, but I thought let's start with a really bad example here. This doesn't have a backrest at all. It's really hard. It's a little bit too low for me as well. This is a yoga chair. And I'm going to show you what we can do, obviously, to adjust this, make this a little bit better without even changing the chair. But let's look at the kind of the common things that can go wrong. So one of the things would be, as I'm already talking about, is the slouching. So it would be kind of allowing yourself to round the back. And with scoliosis, if you're rounding your back, you're also twisting. You're also always rotating slightly. So that's one of the things that we want to avoid. We want to kind of avoid that tucking of the tailbone, which is going to make that flat back even worse. And then, of course, another thing that often happens, especially if your core is not very strong, you're going to try to find a little bit more stability by crossing your legs. So hands up if you're one of those people like me who love to cross your legs. And very often this kind of brings us more into our scoliosis pattern, because I bet you have one favorite leg that you like to cross over the other. So obviously you can probably, let me turn around again so you can see what this does. It's going to make that weight distribution even more uneven. So if we're kind of starting from this uneven base, everything else in the rest of the body will be affected as well. So we want to try avoiding that crossing of the legs if you can. Obviously alternate, maybe switch it up if you really can't avoid crossing your legs at all. And I feel you if that's the case, but we try not to do it. So we've got the slouching and the tucking, and then we've got the crossing of the legs. And then the third one is that we tend to be in our scoliosis pattern. And if you're not quite sure about your scoliosis pattern, make sure you download my free workbook, which is specifically for S-curve scoliosis. And it will just guide you through some simple exercises to find out what exactly is happening with you. What are your kind of common mistakes that you are making? So you could be leaning over to one side more than the other. Now, at some point, it was suggested that you start to lift one of your sitting bones, maybe put something underneath the sitting bone. However, I don't recommend this nowadays in the long term, because in the long term, it's just like kind of a crutch, and it helps maybe in the short term, but in the long term, that's not a solution. So you could bring something underneath one sitting bone and then see if that helps you. But really, you want your body to remember what it feels like to be in this a little bit more adjusted position. So it's really about noticing some of these little patterns. The other thing, if you are working in an office and you have your office setup, again, sometimes what happens is that your setup is in a way that is going into your scoliosis pattern even more. So for example, I have got a right thoracic, left lumbar scoliosis. I work with my right hand. If I have my mouse too far away or my keyboard too far away and I'm just using my right hand, it pulls my right shoulder forwards, which is my pattern already. So I already have that shoulder that tends to roll forward. So I always make sure that everything is closely in towards me here, so that I can keep my shoulder back and down. So let's talk a little bit more about what we can do to adjust our sitting posture. So with this chair here, for example, so if I turn around, sorry, I'm kind of turning back and forth here all the time. If I turn myself around again and I would kind of be just hanging out here, again, we can kind of agree that this isn't great. And one of the reasons is that this chair is actually too low for me. So you can see if I just kind of plant my feet down, my knees are ever so slightly higher than my hips, and that is not great. So I'm going to take a block here, and I'm going to show you that this makes a difference. If I sit up a little bit higher, I can already, my pelvis feels a lot more stable here. I can already support my scoliosis a little bit better, even just by sitting up a little bit more. And that is already going to give me a lot more stability here in this area. It feels so much better in my lower back, and I can lengthen up through my spine a little bit more and staying relaxed in this way as well. But let's look at a different chair just for comparison. And this is my office chair, which I have already set up in a way that is great for me. So first of all, this is an adjustable chair, so I can make it lower, obviously, and then I can make it higher. So I made it high enough for me that I can plant my feet down to the, onto the floor, and that my hips are slightly higher than my knees. Now, I don't actually use the rest, the backrest, unless I get a little bit tired. So I try to kind of lengthen to sit up nice and tall. What I also try is not to go the other way and allow the pelvis to roll forwards, which can then also cause some lower back pain. So you want to make sure you've got something. If you're feeling that you're getting a little bit tired, and I just allow myself to sit back, I've got this lumbar support here. And sometimes you need to adjust this a little bit because chairs are for the average person, but what does that actually mean? So for me, this works well because the lumbar support is quite low, but sometimes you might have to adjust and maybe put a little cushion or something in the area where you need it. Now, I also like this headrest. Yes, it might be a little bit low right now, but I actually like it into my back. And I can just kind of sit back. I can even just rest my, my forearms onto the, what are they called? The handles. And just kind of taking a few moments just to allow myself here to rest if I get a little bit tired. Obviously, movement is also key when you are sitting for long periods of time. So make sure that you're getting up on a regular basis. So what are the best types of chairs? The best types of chairs are the ones that offer the support that you need. Now, the chairs that definitely don't offer the support that we need are often the seats in a car. So make sure that you kind of think about what is your setup in your car, and is there anything that you can do now that you know a little bit more about the alignment that we're looking for and the support that we need to give you a little bit more adjustments and a little bit more comfort there. Sitting all day doesn't just affect your spine, it can also trigger sciatica, that sharp pain that goes down your leg. But the right exercises, even just sitting in a chair, can help. I want to show you the best movements to relieve that pain and improve posture with scoliosis. So make sure to click that video that is on your screen right now.